Ever been curious about what a 3D motion capture of your golf swing looks like? Stay tuned. Erin's going to dive in pretty deep, and I'm going to watch.
Okay, so what we have here is the K-Vest, the K0Coach actually. So like Ryan was saying, it's 3D motion capture. So it's like biofeedback of your golf swing using 4 sensors. They've got one that's like I'm holding here, which is kind of your backpack. It goes in between your shoulder blades. You got one that you wear as a belt that goes and measures your pelvis. You got a lead arm, and you got one on your glove.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we're gonna jump into it.
So real quick, and I will say that I understand how the biomechanics of the body works, but I don't necessarily know how this technology delivers that information and how it delivers the information.
Yes.
So if you were going to try and describe like what are the benefits of something like a KVest to a student or somebody that's trying to figure out their body position, which is ultimately what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, so something that I really like, well, just to hit that first one, so you've got these little sensors in there. They're run Bluetooth. It goes back and talks to a little gadget back there that's plugged into the computer, and then don't even get me lying about how that other stuff works and how that happens and how it does its thing.
Oh, as far as it transmits it.
As far as transmits it and goes. But yeah, so the cool thing and the thing that I like about the K-Vest and kind of what we've seen is that it's extremely hard to explain to somebody what a position is. Or to say, hey, you know, you hear instructors like, okay, so you should feel this.
Right.
I have absolutely zero clue what you should feel. I know what I feel.
Happened twice last night with one student.
But I got no idea what you're feeling. So the cool thing about KVest, and we'll kind of get into it a little bit, is after we evaluate and see some different things and that kind of stuff, we can put it on, put in there, hey, we need to be at kind of this position in the backswing, like the one I'm going to use. It's really easy, is like flat shoulders, because I had a guy that was doing it. He gets flat shoulders. I'm like, hey, we're going to work to try to get that left shoulder down, get a little more side bend, or, you know, whatever the story is. But to tell somebody how to do that and to find that position in space is extremely difficult when you've never ever in your life felt that position. So that's where this comes in, where we can get into that feedback, kind of get into a good position, turn, and then the player or the individual can sit there and find that spot, and then oh, okay.
Not only does it give you a visual feedback on the screen, it actually gives you an auditory as well.
Yeah, it kind of has a little ding that goes off. And as the instructor, you know, obviously I'm not going to take a 75-year-old and try to put him in the same side bend that Joaquin Neiman or Justin Thomas or somebody. Like that's impossible. So I say it's not impossible. Take that back.
Improbable.
It is not likely that they're going to have that kind of mobility, stability, that kind of stuff in their swing.
And not hurt themselves trying to do it.
Yeah, and so what we can do is you can set parameters, make it easier or harder, give it to where they have more, where they have less, and then especially with, you know, with another player or something like that, you can start to kind of baby step them into as you have a program with it.
So when I like to dive into technology, and we'll kind of use the TrackMan Performance Studio for that, I always like to use technology. It gives me a feedback so that I can better understand what's going on in the person's swing, but this also seems like, which obviously this is doing, but it also seems like there's a practice component to it for the student itself. So whereas like video playback on the TrackMan Performance, if you have cameras hooked up to it, obviously, would be that version of it in a more simplistic way. This is just a much more in-depth mechanical way of looking at it.
This is going to be going, I don't want to say 100% because, full disclosure, TrackMan and KVest do not talk to each other.
So we have to run two separate pieces of software.
Two different things at one time. We can shrink this screen for what we're doing today. I'm not going to do that because not really concerned so much on ball flight. It's just positions and the golf swing.
Yep, and if you've watched any of our videos, the screen grab is going to look very different. We are strictly staying inside the KVest. So as you see stuff, you're going to see exactly what we're seeing essentially.
Yeah, so you can link the two together when I'm actually working with a student and doing something like that. Yes, absolutely. I'll have it shrunk down so we can see motion of golf swing.
Pop it up when you need to.
And then also, how does this affect ball flight? And
now, potentially, in what's getting closer and closer to being built in the studio, have the ability to run just two different systems.
Absolutely, yeah.
And have two screens going, which will be great. One more bonus that comes out of the studio.
That's the best thing, like the best possible setup for KVest, I believe, is to have a monitor on the ground, because we'll see some stuff here in a second that as the student, you know, if I'm looking at the big screen or
change your
up at
position.
something, you're changing your position every time.
Kind of like the student where you say,
Very
I need you to take it more vertical in the back, and they go, okay.
They go, okay, yeah,
And they
sure.
watch it,
Just
and they
stand
move their
up.
left foot. You're like, no, just, okay.
Yeah,
never
okay,
mind.
you've moved everywhere. Yeah, so, so we'll get geared up here.
So Aaron's going to go through literally the whole thing, and I'm just going to, if I feel like I got a question, I'm just going to ask it.
Throw it up.
So Aaron's going to get changed real quick into the accoutrement.
Yeah, get my gear.
And then, so through the process, as far as after you get all the sensors on hitting shots, you were kind of telling me off camera, you have to hit X amount of shots.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go through what they call the evaluation, and that's kind of how I start with the student in this kind of stuff. So you're taking a 6-iron and a driver, basically.
Gotcha.
And we're gonna hit 5 shots with each one, and we're gonna alternate.
Okay.
The alternate thing is kind of nice because they don't sit there and get into a rhythm with something.
Right.
They like actually
You
you
see
have to
actually the button. Yep,
change
perfect.
more stuff like that. So
Cool.
that's what we're gonna do,
So
and then
you guys will see a very sped up version of that evaluation.
Yes, yes, it will be very fast.
Aaron is hooked up. Aaron is calibrated.
I have to hit driver first.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna.
And what he's going to do is he's going to go through the reps real quick. So you're going to see a very, very fast version of this.
Super speedy version of the
Uh-oh. As I drop my
evaluation.
GoPro.
braking stuff.
Just happy I don't see up your pelvic bone anymore. Well, that was a fun little ba-ba.
But
Speed creation, is that low? Okay. Consistency, is that low?
no, it's good. 84 of
Oh, you want to be on the high side of that little range.
Yeah, so
All right,
ready
real
to
quick.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So Aaron has just hit, 6 shots of each?
5.
5 shots of each? This is weirdly long, please take it away from me. So he's gone through, and essentially the KVest has, the sensors have all worked, done some magic, and why don't you break down now what in the crap we're looking at?
So this is the evaluation that you get after the assessment that we just did.
Thanks, that's
Yeah, so-
amazing information, Aaron.
So something that you have to really pay attention to is that the first page that you see is in the top left-hand corner. This is just the driver.
Right.
And then you switch it over and you can see just the 6-iron.
I want to see 8-iron.
We don't have an 8-iron on there. So first right off the bat, you've got this. It's having your score, your consistencies, that kind of stuff. So something new that KVest, I say new, it's for a year or so. But
New to you.
yeah, so they did something really good here. You put your age in, you put your birthday in. So before, really all they had was what you did and all the pro stats.
Sure.
So again, like I was saying, you got like a 75-year-old guy, he's not going to move the same as,
Sure.
as a 22-year-old
It's a little
tour
different.
pro.
So that's why it says peer range.
Peer range. So now it's
Gotcha.
comparing you to a peer range. So I'm 37, it's throwing me in that like 30 to 40 range. So here we go. So my consistency of what I'm doing, 84, that's pretty good. The little light blue, that's showing that's your peer range. I'm a little bit slower than I should be. Maybe I'm stiff, I'm just not swinging very good, whatever the story is. But
Yes.
So we'll start moving through this a little bit.
Which one would you like me to start with?
Yes.
So swing characteristics.
Here it is right off the bat. So I have a little bit of C posture. So everything looks pretty good. It says none. So if it was something big, it would say major, bonk, and it brightens it up there.
Yeah.
This is minor. So I've got a little C posture. I know I've always kind of had that. I get a little bit hunched over. You know, is C posture that bad? Look at George Gankus and some of the stuff he's doing. No, he's seeing that.
That's just my shape.
People get bent over a little bit more and they turn a little bit better. So, yeah.
It just is what it is.
It is what it is. That's what it's. And then where
it's diagnosing you, it's just telling you what's happening.
This is what's happening. And where it gets that measurement from is it's looking at the degree of separation from this sensor on my torso up here between my shoulder blades and the one down here on my pelvis. So, or
ass
on my
bone.
belt, but it's measuring pelvis.
Yeah.
So
we're going forward, we're going to use ass bone.
Ass bone. So this is the first thing that I always look at with people, and like, let's see if something just outright quick, boom, pops right up. And it's got it broken down, address, so your posture at the top, whether we're getting too much turn, reverse spine, flat shoulders, and then an impact is how much rotation we have with hips. Now, this stuff in here, I'm not going to dive super hard into because this goes into something that
golf nerd brain just went excitement.
Yeah, you come get a lesson and come look at this, and we'll dive into this. There's way too much to talk about in this video right here. So
is it telling you your oh no, that's a comparison. Yes. Essentially, it's giving you all of the actual
pro
rotations compared to what a professional-ish
and it's measuring. It's all your stuff measured in degrees at address, top, and impact. A forward bend, side bend, rotation, forward bend, side bend, rotation.
Right. If you've watched any of our videos, you've undoubtedly seen the TPS or the TrackMan Performance Studio stuff. This is the equivalent of staring at tiles.
Yes. And
you're not seeing any visual. It's really hard to kind of, unless you know what you're looking at. That's so better players.
KVest has done this too. Is they've kind of matched sort of the look that TrackMan has. Not in this report, but whenever you actually get in and start training and getting into things, it's set up in tiles. So it looks, it's easy to look at.
And it's color coded. I'm guessing that's green, not blue. Green good, yellow concerning, red bad. Forward bend, man.
So here we go down here. This is one of the biggest things that we look at. Sequencing of the golf swing.
Yep.
Okay. You see down the left side of it, that would be a pro swing or the correct sequence you're going to have when you get to the top of your swing. We're going to sequence it with pelvis, then torso, then arm, then hands.
Yep.
Okay. I am losing speed somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
Where am I losing speed?
Hand.
Right there. The first move that I got going from the top is my hands start moving fast. Okay. Then my pelvis, then my torso, then my arm.
So I know we're going through this, but I feel like I want to bring up something real quick. So what would be the difference in this telling you versus a golf coach?
This is looking at the kinematic sequence of the golf swing in insane detail.
Sure.
Something that's like at light speed. That's
and the way I translate it, if I'm wrong, say it, and I'll just cut it. Because I don't like feeling wrong in the videos. But if you're a beginner and you're not necessarily a non-high speed player, let's just say that, realistically a golf coach can decipher this a little bit, especially if they're using video playback.
Yes, absolutely. They can see
something 120 frames, preferably 240 or higher, you'll be able to kind of tell those things.
Yes.
Now, where that gets complicated is, let's use Erin and myself as an example. Your driver club head speed's typically around 110. Mine's around 119. If any coach that sits there and says, I can tell from the naked eye what you're doing, they are lying. There's a reason why technology like this exists.
Yeah, there's a...
They might not be lying. They might think they can see it, but I guarantee you that it's probably not the same way. Like, just looking at Erin's swing, being around here and seeing you swing a golf club a whole lot, I never would have thought your hands were moving first.
Yeah.
Now, I would have said they're probably second or third. They definitely weren't last.
Yeah.
But I didn't think they were first. I was going to put them more 3-4. And
so this, and again, you can... We're not going to get into it, but within the software, you can get in and actually see the kinematic sequence that you have and all the lines and the loops on the graphs and see exactly when your hands go, when your hips go. And that's, again, that's a whole nother thing. And that's not something that
if you're a professional PGA Tour player, maybe in the off season, they want to dive into something like that because their motion is so much more precise and small. Little things matter big time for them. But your average run-of-the-mill golfer,
well, no. And as a coach, whenever you're doing stuff, You're not, there's a whole lot of this stuff that the player never sees, nor should the player ever see.
Over bandwidth.
Yeah, they just need to see.
Too much information unfiltered.
You as the coach need to narrow it down for them and say, hey, here, boom, here's what we got.
So let me start by saying we did a couple of TrackMan videos too that actually led to some people purchasing a TrackMan and some of that type of stuff. I would tell you KVest, and we'll answer this question at the end, but one of my biggest questions is this, when we do our product reviews, and I know this isn't really a product review, it's more of a product highlight, but I'm going to ask the question at the end, is this meant for, if you're thinking about buying something like this, is it meant for coaches only? Is it meant for coaches and consumers? Or is it really just, you shouldn't buy it and you made a mistake?
I mean, honestly, it's both. It's depending on how much, a coach, yes, it's great. If you are a consumer and you're going to get it, you need to make sure that you have a very solid knowledge of what's going on there.
And probably more than you actually think that's actually involved with what's going on. If you don't know how much pelvic rotation you should have in terms of degrees, it's over I'm not saying it's over your head, but not that you can't learn it.
Yeah, you should be researching this a little bit more before you just jump into it.
Sorry, I kind of cut you off in the middle of the explanation here, but so that was your driver. Just real quick, is it about the same for your
So let's see.
iron?
So now we switch over to 6-iron. We'll scroll back to the top.
Oh, I was just looking at that one. I thought it had both on the one thing. Sorry, that was wrong.
There we go right there. So now I get into a major C posture
which
with
is
my
common
iron.
because the shorter the club, the more you're going to, most people don't use their legs to lower. They have a tendency just to hunch and bend from the pelvic bone. So
there it is right there. It's still kind of a common flaw or a common issue amongst there.
If you have it a little bit, it's always amplified in posture when you go to a shorter club.
So then we come down and let's look here.
Oh, it's actually a little bit different.
A little bit different, but same kind of problem.
Same
and what's
issue,
funny is my first swing and my fourth swing, I felt like I hit those bad. And I felt like I hit my other ones a little better, and I sequenced it a little bit better.
You got your pelvis going a little bit better sooner.
And so what I see here, and I'll go ahead and coach myself up on this, and I know I have this problem, but I tend to get flippy with my hands. And my torso is really slow coming through the ball. So I'll get like this, and this lags back, and my torso is trying to catch up, and I end up passing my hands. Whenever I feel like I'm hitting the ball better, I feel like my chest is really rotating through the ball.
Good to know. This just gave me an idea for a whole other video. So when we're done, we're going to analyze his swing using the K-Vest. And so we'll actually talk about what we're talking about now in much more detail for the next video. So stay tuned.
So that's the, as far as the evaluation goes, again, not going to dive
too deep into the numbers,
insanely deep into the numbers. But then as an instructor, what I would do is I would take this, and then we come up with a practice plan and create within KVest software, we create a practice plan. And we're going to attack the issues that I have there.
So I guess from we'll talk about that in the next video. But cool. So that's kind of the analysis side. So that gives all the data, whether you understand how to pull that information in your head and translate that back out into something tangible is questionable. I think I am, but I kind of, again, have a little bit more broad knowledge of the golf swing and those types of things. So let's say you want to take this into a more practice mode now.
All right, so we saw the issue that I have is a little bit of C posture, a little rounding in the back. So how do we coach that up within this? So now what you're seeing on here is we've got, turn you there. So we've got these two green little bars in there. That is where I want to be. The blue is my top half. The red is, I can't make my body bend that way, is my bottom half.
This is going to be interesting.
You see that video, a little Elvis Presley pelvic thrust there. So to get into the posture that I'm trying to get into, I want to get my red in that bottom line, my blue in that top green. So let's get set up.
And you can see right there, I know it's hard to hear the audio. So you're hearing, and I'm trying to get my mic a little closer to it, but you're hearing that like angels are singing. And it's all it's doing is giving him an auditory, so he doesn't have to stare at the screen in front of him, so that when he hits it. And a rep for him, this is a setup drill, so we're not taking a swing. So when it says reps, it's essentially asking you to stand back up and reset. Step out, essentially.
So step out of it, step back up. And you can set all these things. The coach can set it up however they want to. Right now it's set for about a half a second, so it'll bing, bong, bing,
Right.
and then you can change the amount of reps, times, all that kind of stuff. So you can make it a little more fluid of a motion whenever you start getting into, say, a position at the top, where you can drop that time that you need to
Right.
hold in there down to super short, so it's just like ding and go.
Right.
Whenever
when
you're getting into the swing.
Yep, exactly. So go ahead and go through a few more. Let's get the audio from it, hopefully. Yeah, and that ding you're hearing too is the rep completing itself.
Step out.
Yep, step back in. And as you can tell in some of the video too, Erin obviously likes to bend.
I like to do that.
Put my mic back here. But see, and that's as a coach, if I'm looking at this, like I'm watching Erin's back essentially, and even when he's in the green, he's on that far side. And so stay tuned for the next video because I'm gonna try and fix it. Oh.
Ta-da!
So essentially you just made it through all the reps. So the idea then is to hit the golf ball. Is that it's training your body to get used to that feeling.
Feel that position.
Visual and auditory, which is great because you're getting 2 feedback options. And if you understand how people learn, if you get 2 feedback options, the chance that person retains that data or that information goes up.
Yep. And kind of the other thing that's nice is, again, as a coach, I'm not having to sit here and
punch you in the chest every
fiddle
time
with
you
somebody and move them around and
let's be honest.
hips back, hips forward, chest up, chest back. Like,
how many golf coaches walk up and go, Erin, I can't believe you're doing that. Just come on.
Yeah, get over in there.
It's awkward. Nobody likes to be touched. I always joke, in the world of social distancing and all that now, we just broke the rule, sorry.
Yeah.
6 feet. I'm going to be honest, before this happened, I kind of liked 6 feet anyway.
Yeah, it's
I'm
nice
not one of those touchy-feely people. I know most people, some people are, some people aren't, doesn't matter. From a golf coach perspective, it's always a little awkward when you have to move somebody in a position. Like if you watch, like if I'm, take a step for me real quick. Even if I walk up behind you and I say, hey, I really want you to get your arms behind you, so take that back slowly. I grab the golf club and pull this way and go, that's the feeling right there.
Yeah, you're not grabbing somebody's hands or moving their
Right,
body.
exactly. I'd much rather grab the golf club and move them because ultimately the golf club is what's going to be where I need you to be anyway, and so it dictates and your body kind of learns a little bit differently versus me forcing you. So, long story short, it's from a coach's perspective, so depending on if you're watching this as a consumer or maybe a PGA professional golf coach, someone in that capacity, there's really 2 markets on this.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great for practice as long as you understand all of this, and so, you know, I mean, maybe if you've got a lot of money and you have a coach that has one.
And there's things you can do too. They have like a cloud-based system set up now to where it's emailed to you, your practice routines emailed, and they have a, for lack of a better term, more of a dumbed down that's called a K Player. And it's only just like 2
Practice
sensors.
routines.
So you can get like,
Microphone.
sorry about that. You can get a your torso and your pelvis.
Yep.
And it's a little bit cheaper of a system. So if you did say you really want to dive into this kind of stuff and you have a coach that uses this, you could get that lesser version and go through your routine
at home
that they
or
send
your
to
golf
you.
course or wherever you happen to be. So,
For
very
sure.
cool. So, I guess it comes back, that kind of answers the question then is they have options for the player. This one might be a little overkill. But sounds like the player version of KVest or K0Coach or whatever we're calling this thing is that better option. From a coach's standpoint, honestly, I'd played with it a couple of years ago, actually more than that, probably 5 or 6 years ago when it first came out. Didn't seem all that great initially, just like everything else. The very first edition normally is a little bit watered down because they're not sure what's working or not. There's always bugs.
They've made some, obviously it's a piece of technology, just something else to help out. But like TrackMan, I mean, they're continuing to improve things. They're adding things to it. What they're really doing that's kind of nice is they're trying to do everything they can to not so much simplify it, but just make it so much more user-friendly and make the data a lot more relatable from coach to player. So it's not, I'm not telling you, hey, you're at 14 degrees, you need to be at 2 degrees.
Right.
What is 2 degrees?
Right.
Like for most people, that's a very hard thing. And again, like going back to the beginning, like trying to find a spot in space when there's nothing to tell you where you're supposed to be at, like that's hard. That's hard to do.
And golf coaches use tour sticks, noodles for in our case, that kind of stuff a lot to show and train and those types of things. This is a different version that's a way more precise version.
Yes. Yeah, you're
Essentially.
getting biofeedback as opposed to like a static clunk,
Yep.
hit something or do something like that. Yep.
Cool. Anything else?
I think that's very scratching the surface of it, but
Yeah, it can get
should-
pretty into it.
Yeah, and it should give you a good idea of like some of the stuff and the training purposes. And I just had a guy the other day that came in, and whether I'm going to use this in a lesson or not, he has an instructor that he goes to, which is awesome. But he came in and got an evaluation. I took all the data, those reports, emailed it to him, and so him and his coach can go dive into it and say, okay, well, here's where you're losing some speed, or oh, okay, your setup is kind of this, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just that little 30-minute-ish long evaluation to figure out what's going on. So if you're working with another PGA professional or something like that, know that I don't know if other KVest facilities are doing just evaluation so you can work with your coach, or if they require you to work with their coaches. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I
obviously,
don't know.
they'll do
I
it
mean,
where
we'll-
it's, you want to do an evaluation, come on in.
Yes, we're friendly to everybody. We're fine if you have another instructor. Obviously, there's a million instructors out there. Like, go to who you like.
I think there are a few less than a million, but
Maybe like
well, let me rephrase that.
16,000.
That have some level of a certification.
a lot of
My dad thinks he's an instructor. He is
You go
not.
out. There's
I love
four
but-
instructors in every foursome you play with
Yeah,
on a Saturday.
depending on what's going on. Oh man, you got to grip down on it. Oh man, you got to swing harder. Oh man, you got to set up different.
Yeah, just do this, do that.
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
what I wanted. All
but,
the same thoughts. So,
Yeah, so this is the K-Coach and just kind of some of the stuff you can do with it.
yep, very cool piece of software. Stay tuned. In one of the next videos coming out, we're gonna dive into what Erin's actually doing.
See if we can get this
It's
fixed.
a different way of looking at it because I know you've been struggling with it for a few months now, roughly, and it's way more concerning on your driver.
Yes.
So, very cool.
Yep. Thank you all for checking in.
See you next time.